to get to physics, like it's not a very popular major, let's say.
No, I remember. I don't know. It's just the way they presented it to us or something. But I remember finding it a bit dry for me. Like,
oh, is it like the subject?
yeah, back
Oh
in
yeah.
high school, I did. Maybe it's just because I added an extra element of challenge to my life by deciding to study in Romanian the last 4 years of my like. So high school I did in Romanian. The first 8 years, that's primary and secondary in Romania, I did in Hungarian. So like
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty good with maths in Hungarian because the numbers and stuff, like I could count fairly quickly. But when it was in Romanian and I had to do it out loud in front of a class, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it in Hungarian in my head and then say it in Romanian whatever I can. Uh, so and then some of the terms that you just weren't there for me. So I definitely struggled a bit more. I still managed to learn a fair bit, but yeah, I remember thinking it was physics is a bit too dry for me. I don't know. I need
Well,
something, not just the
yeah.
numbers. I needed something else. Maybe just the way they taught it to us. It could be that as well. But I did appreciate the challenge and the puzzle aspect of it, and the forces.
Yeah, I completely understand this because for me it was just the same. Like in high school, I had this teacher that he was not really passionate about anything in his
Yeah.
life. He was this guy who would just spill water all over the place doing some experiment, and he would like, don't worry about it, it will evaporate.
Oh,
So
I love it, man. I love it. Oh, good. Yes, yes.
yeah,
Nothing like a shitty teacher in high school. Just they're special, man. I love it. You remember the really good ones, and you remember the really bad ones.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So yes, so I didn't have also maths. That was for me. That was something that was not very hard to do, but not very exciting. And then in I know that I know how it is in UK, but I know that in US in college math is also not very exciting till some level, because if it just some calculations that you do and you have to memorize some formulas and that's it, that's not very interesting, let's say. So by the higher math, it's more like philosophy, more like kind of art. Like there's this guy, Nobel Prize winner, Roger Penrose,
yes.
yeah, who said that doing mathematics, like higher mathematics, is and writing a novel is similar. Okay, so and that's interesting because so what you do when you write a novel, you create a background, right, where the story will take place,
Yeah,
and
I'm writing a play at the moment, so keep talking.
oh, awesome, okay. And you have your characters, right, and if they're like very well built characters, they cannot do things that will not uh, suit them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like they have. Yeah, you're imagining people. They have their own
Yeah, yeah.
personalities, and you have to
So
respect that.
so all of a sudden you have some bounds. You cannot do anything with those characters. We can only do certain things,
Yeah.
and you have this background, and things can fit. You can think of some solutions of so you can have some situation for your character that he's in, and then you have to find a solution. But the solution cannot be just anything because you have all those bounds because all those different characters have different
Yeah,
behaviors,
it
and
has
there's
to
the
make
background,
sense.
and it has to make sense, and that's basically doing higher math. That's basically what it is. You just have an abstract objects, and they characterized by something, and then you want to just solve some problem, but all of them they have some
They have their own
characteristics.
characteristics.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that
I mean,
that's
if you think
basically
about it that
well,
way.
you know, and then it's becomes much more interesting. Of course, it's very abstract. So when you do novel, you can talk about real people. You can also talk about some not very real people, but
Yeah,
but
no,
in
no,
math,
no. That's a fair
it's
point.
very
There's
abstract.
some point there's become some overlap because we all, we're still talking about life and things that happen, and if you take mathematics, it kind of it's part of everything, sort of. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's gonna be parallels. I even like as a musician, you definitely know about mathematics because there's a whole branch that
Yeah. Yeah,
focuses on.
that's one of the one of the most beautiful things that you discover, right? When you talk about harmonies, like ancient Greeks, they were just looking at the string and they said, okay, so what happens if I just like take a half of it? and what's the sound, and then again take a half of it, and what's the sound, and then all of a sudden you can use mathematics to write music or to do harmonies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it is. There's a very fascinating overlap there. It's like the
Sure. We have like less than a minute.
yeah. So it's probably gonna stop and then we're gonna start again, and that'll be that.
Sure. Yeah.
Again, it's the first one I'm doing on Zoom, so I'm learning how to use it.
Yeah, no problem. I see you're doing great.
Oh, thank you. Record. And we're back in. Right, so that was me working out the kinks of Zooming for free.
Yeah.
Right, we were at your story about we were talking about you going to uni doing physics. So you finally decided to do physics.
Yeah. I realized, and during the break, that's basically that was so far a very therapeutic experience for me.
Oh,
talking about things like that. It was supposed to be about something else, like this meeting. But okay. So
anyway,
I
mean, listen, this is about your life story.
Yeah,
so you just went down, the acting, the music at that stage didn't work out. You went and got lost in the capitalist world, and then finally found yourself naked in the forest, and then you ended up doing quantum physics, or just physics, or just all the physics.
Well,
you finished physics.
I have a bachelor in physics.
Right.
But so when I was doing physics, so first of all, I was from that time, I was very happy with my life. So I was right. I thought I kind of felt that this is it. This is all very nice, and I would like to do this maybe in my life, professional life, or whatever.
All right.
But it was very challenging because, as I told you, I was self-taught. I knew nothing, and my first days at my first classes, they were just terrifying. I was so far back than anyone else that I had to work much more. I was basically every day at the uni, like harassing any of my colleagues who I knew know much more than I. And I was just talking with them constantly, almost every day, staying after classes till evenings. There were some rooms for students that you could just hang out, and then I was basically doing that most of the time, so I can pass the first semester. So I was. So the motivational part, I forgot to the punchline. The punchline is that, so I had basically, you did a great recap. I had some dreams. I wanted to do this acting, maybe music, maybe something. None of it worked out. And also, and I got to this very strange corporate world and it's financial advising, whatever. And that was really bad for my mental health. But in the end, I took a break. I thought about what I want to do with my life, and finally I found it. So that's the moral and the.
And not only that, you train yourself to become a physician. Like when people think self-trained, they'll think music. They'll think there's a bunch of stuff people think are self-trained. Nobody thinks physics. Like okay, maybe if you're gonna be a surgeon, don't self-train is not the way to go. Like there's a limit. But nobody thinks, like the hard sciences, I was self-trained mathematician or physician. Nobody thinks that.
Yeah, sure. But I was the things that I could do on my own. That was very limited. As I told you, that was my exam was not very good. It got me into physics, but afterwards, with a lot of hard work, I was able to catch up with my colleagues and do that. And after that, so I did physics. I switched into math because it turns out I was much more into math. I was better at math than that physics. But while I was learning physics, I could finally verify all those claims by those charlatans from YouTube. And guess what? They're all
bullshit. Oh my God! Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Yeah. So I will give you just one example. So there's this kind of a thing in quantum physics.
Quantum entanglement? Are you about to hit me with quantum entanglement?
No. A different thing. There was this experiment that they did. with electrons and like a double slit. So if you have just one slit and you put like a beam of electrons, and you think of electrons as just balls, and you have the slit and you have some kind of a monitor
Okay,
sheet.
monitor.
Yeah, some that will just detect where the electron landed. Right? There's some, of course, there has to be prepared in a nice way, but that's the base, the gist of it. So just shoot electrons through one slit, and all you get is just like you would throw balls through this slit. You just get just one line, right? When the slit was, the balls were. But if you do two, all of a sudden you have like an interference pattern, like a wave, like something like a wave would do. So a lot of them, and you think like, well, I was just shooting electrons at two slits. How can I get this kind of a behavior? Right? And that's basically one of the things about quantum physics, that the electrons, you cannot think of them only as just balls and particles. You have this wave particle duality. That's the nice name. Right. So sometimes they behave like waves, sometimes they behave like particles. Yeah. So you cannot say that electron is just like a ping pong ball or tennis ball, or that it is a wave. It's electron is an electron, and we can sometimes understand it as a ball.
It's
sometimes
complex. We get into the personality of an electron, right?
Exactly.
It's complicated, It's moody. Yeah. It's temperamental.
Yeah, electrifying. sorry for that. So that's that you have this experiment, but when you, and that's how they talk those now that you hear those charlatans talking about this experiment, and they say, but when you put an observer, so you look through which slit the electron goes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the electron is like, okay, you're watching me, so now I'll behave like a ball again.
Yeah, so there's the whole thing of it depends if you're observing it changes its behavior. Yeah,
but they're selling it like, if I don't look behind me, does this exist? Like, do you have those pictures?
I think that's called object permanence. I think.
Yeah. So that's how they're selling it, and it's much easier than that, because so what is an observer in quantum physics or in anything? Like, you have to look, right? And the light, you have to have light, and light is made up of photons, and photon is a different kind of a particle. So what you're doing when you want to observe through which slit electron goes, you just shoot it with a photon. So then it changes behavior. Wow. Okay, because there was an interaction with something else, and that's the only thing that happens. Because it's not that this is not philosophical at all. It's not like when I observe the electron, it behaves this way. If I don't observe
just when I observe it, there's photons, there's light.
Yeah, observing is just you shoot light so you can see where it is, and then that's the big mystery solved.
Well, that's good thing I didn't get lost in that fucking rabbit hole on YouTube. Right. Now, let's steer this ship back towards the ukulele.
Yeah.
So in this, so you're doing this and you're happy and you're content, Yep. You're shooting light at electrons, just playing with your ping pong balls.
Oh yeah. So I was very bad at experiments. I almost lost my sight during one, because in physics laboratories, you sometimes have to deal with lasers. And one of the experiments was that I had like a box with ions in it. And you had to shoot the laser. There was like a small hole at the bottom and on the top. And you had to shoot the lasers so it goes through it, right? And I was like, is it already here? I was like trying to watch it. So I almost lost my sight. But it's just, because if I was trying to, just look at it, is it already there? Did I do it right?
But
that was very stupid.
You could have had a story there. You could have been a one-eyed physician with an eye patch going, how did you lose your sight? Well, let me tell you a story, kids. There was a laser.
Yeah, well,
hashtag don't try this at home.
Yeah, don't do it, and just don't skip the preparatory lectures about labs and how to.
That was lasers. Yeah. That was the home trained, south trained physician kicking in. I was just looking at it.
Yeah, well, but yes, I was not very good at experiments. That way, I went into math. I did my PhD in mathematics, and I was as I told you, I was really happy, but there was something lacking.
You could
It's
feel
kind
that
of,
inner voice.
yeah, there was something. I so I would do talks, like mathematical talks, all over the world. Uh, well, in the US, in Europe, that's basically in few places in the US. I think in 16 or something countries.
Right, you've been to 16 countries.
Is that true? No, maybe not. But in 16 different institutes or universities,
Right.
I gave talks. But I think for three or four in the US and in Europe, in a few places, in Germany and France, in Spain, some nice places.
And have you
In
tried to
Denmark,
stand up in every single one of them?
yeah, I would always squeeze like a joke or two, but but the audience at math talks is tough.
Yes, I can imagine how, yeah. And what
also,
like,
they're not expecting jokes.
that's the thing. Some of it's expectation, yeah.
They're expecting just some serious. Yeah, so some, because I was trying to do this, some professors, they would like be very almost offended. Like, I'm not
How
taking.
dare you? Put your
Yeah.
penis away, sir.
Yeah. So there would be times that they would be like, he's not taking it serious, and math is very serious. And some people, let me tell you, some people are taking physics and math too serious. Like
Well,
some
it's the same.
professors.
I'm guessing there's art wangs, there's gonna be math wangs as well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
just they just.
they go up their own ass a little bit too
Yeah,
much.
exactly. And you cannot make silly jokes about their field of expertise.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so I was trying that, and I was doing talks, but it's uh, it's so different, and I wanted to do something more creative on the art side, like do anything connected with. So I started. I was in Wrocław. I got my first after PhD. I got my first job in Wrocław, and I found this on Facebook or whatever. There are some open mics,